I want to tell you a story. This story is about my parents. See, my parents used to be homosexuals. That's right, both of them. And they both changed. My mom grew up in an abusive home. My dad grew up in a dysfunctional home. My mom felt unwanted, used, abused, and unloved. My dad pretty much felt exactly the same. In their pain and their shame, their hurt, they turned to homosexuality. They believed they were born like that. But they weren't. One day my mom went to church and she saw Jesus dying on the cross. She had a vision, but she said the way that she can describe it is that it was almost like a movie screen before her. She started weeping and crying, but she didn't know why. And then Jesus talked to her and said, "You looked everywhere else for love, but I always loved you. I always wanted you." After that day, my mom never went back to homosexuality, drugs, or alcohol. My dad, on the other hand, had kind of a different story. A waitress named Rosie used to be so kind to him. He was the cook, she was the waitress. Normally those two don't go along, but she was different. She showed my dad love, even though he was mean to her and didn't deserve it. One day, before she was leaving the restaurant, she stopped to talk to my dad. She said, "I want you to know that me and my husband pray for you every night." My dad was like, "What? She doesn't even know me. Why would she pray for me?" Then she said something that was even more crazy. She said, "And I want you to know, I love you." My dad had to hide his face because he started to cry, because for the first time in his life, someone had broken through all of his walls that he had built up to protect himself. And get this, my dad was so touched that he asked if he could go to church with her and her husband the next week. That's where my daddy got saved. Don't get me wrong. Later on in life, my dad did go back to the drugs and the alcohol, but he never went back to homosexuality. In the end, my dad came back to God, gave up the drugs and the alcohol for good. Then he got married and had 4 beautiful children. I'm one of them. So here's my point. To all of you who think you can't change, that you were born that way, I have a totally exciting message for you. You can change. And not only can you change, but God wants you and loves you. He calls you pure and righteous. He has a plan and a purpose for your life. He doesn't judge you for anything you've done. So now all you have to do is to turn away from your sin and turn towards God. It's never too late for anybody. I hope when you hear this story that you realize that God had you watch this for a reason. He loves you and just wants you to come home. So say yes to Him, and I promise that you will never regret it.